We're looking at a passage from the second chapter of John's Gospel, the famous story of the wedding at Cana and the turning of water into wine. Among the ancient Jews, weddings were celebrations that went on for as long as a week, depending on the family's wealth. The groom and his friends made their way in a procession to the bride's house. This was usually done at night, and there were torches and quite a foo-for-all about it. The bride and groom then went to the groom's house. It's probable that there was a religious ceremony, but we have no details about that. For just about all ancient cultures, marriage is a business arrangement. There's not much sacramental quality to it. During all of this, guests were served a meal or meals that could go on for several days. In the story we're looking at today, Mary, and she's never named, if you'll notice, she's just the mother of Jesus. Mary plays a role we don't quite understand. Why is she concerned that the wine has run out? If she and Jesus and his disciples are guests, why would they even know that the wine had run out? Some scholars think Mary might have been a friend or a relative of the wedding party, and perhaps she was helping with the arrangements. Jesus' response to her is also odd. First, the term translated woman here is not as disrespectful as it might sound. It's the same word with which he addresses Mary at the crucifixion when he says, "Woman, behold your son." And then our translation says, "Why do you involve me?" More literally, this is an idiom in Greek that says, "What is this to you and to me? What does this have to do with us? My hour has not yet come." So that's something else that we don't quite understand. Jesus, in the early stages of his ministry, is often reluctant to reveal himself, to perform miracles, because he knows people will misunderstand. Excuse me. We also don't understand why Mary just tells the servants, do whatever he tells you to do. We don't think she really knew what he intended to do. The jars that are referred to were large stone vessels, several feet high. As the translation says, they held 20 to 30 gallons each. And the water was used not for drinking, but for washing hands, because the Jews are really intent on ceremonial cleanliness. And so they wash their hands repeatedly before eating things. So this isn't drinking water. Maybe it's what we might call bathroom water that Jesus turns into really excellent wine. This miracle is not recorded in the other three Gospels, but it is the first of 7 signs around which John organizes his Gospel. At the end of chapter 20, which may have been the original end of the Gospel, John says, "Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book." That's taken by many scholars as John's admission that these 7 miracles have been deliberately chosen as a framework for chapters 2 through 11, which record Jesus' ministry before turning to the Passion narrative that begins in chapter 12 and carries through to the end of the Gospel. Let's read this passage now. It's printed in your bulletin, and you'll notice also it's in your Pew Bible on page 751. On the 3rd day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from. Sorry, I cannot get rid of this thing. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory. and his disciples believed in him. This is the word of the Lord.